high God for this brand new day and Jesus Christ, who is the head of my life. It is indeed an honor and a privilege to be before you on today. Such distinguished clergymen. I remember being in seminary and having the professor at the Interdenominational Theological Center, Dr. Wimberly. It is so wonderful to see you, but I remember being in seminary and having the pleasure to attend Monday meetings, and so now my schedule is busy at the Capitol, but to be here today is just an honor. So Dr. P.A., thank you for having me. Dr. Brown, Dr. McDonald, thank all of you for having me on today. And to distinguished members of the Concerned Black Clergy, I greet you all in peace. I'm here to talk to you. I am the founder of the Legislative Clergy Council. And what the Legislative Clergy Council does is we impact public policy. So I spend a great deal of my days at the House of Representatives working with both Senate and House members. We are nonpartisan because we know that it's important for us to work beyond party lines. One of the myths that we get on a regular basis is the separation of church and state. However, the church has to impact public policy in order to really have true, authentic power in the natural sense, in the natural realm. And everything that we do as a church is impacted by government. Many of your congregations or the sanctuaries that you had to go see a tax commissioner in order to build. Many of you drove on this property today, and the roads that you drove on, they're paved and sometimes paid for by tax dollars. Everything that we do, from the seminaries that we attend, to the type of education that our children receive, to the quality in the supermarkets and the stores and the businesses that are in our local communities, all of that is impacted by government. So to say that there is a separation of church and state really does not exist. If you vote, then there's no separation. I want to also talk about the legacy of our ancestors and the impact that they have made by working together with church and state, and far beyond what we see as lines, because now it's dimensional, where we have the executive, we have the branches of government. But even before the branches of government were established, even before black people had the right to vote, or black people had the authority or the right to sit in seats of power, we were already doing it. I'm talking about the invisible institution of the church, when our ancestors would meet in bushes and they would hide out and meet in the woods, and they would determine, they didn't only just have faith. We know faith without works is dead, but they would determine in the invisible institution called the church what they were going to do to steal away, to run away. So they had faith where they would pray to their God, but then they also had works because they were planning, they were making plans on how they were going to obtain and acquire their freedom. I'm talking about the hush harbors, where they would have these secret meetings in the bushes, and they would talk about, they would beat the drums, and the people knew when they heard the sound of the drum that meant freedom, and they would run and they would find a place to hide. I'm talking about how they strategically made ways and declarations. They didn't just pray, but they also worked out their soul salvation. I'm talking about God's trombone, when we have James Weldon Johnson, and he actually stated in 1927 that the Negro pastor was one of the greatest influences in the world because they were the voice of God to the people. Oh my God. Oh my God. He said they were the voice. They were the trombone. They were the voice. They were the ones that cried loud and spared not. I'm talking about the impact that the church has had on Plessy versus Ferguson in 1927, when they said that the state of Louisiana said that it was fair for the Constitution of America to have separate but equal. But because of the influence and the impact of the church, when they said it was fair, the church didn't give up. The church didn't go away.
The church didn't start hiding, but in 1954, because of the influence of the church and their impact in government, we passed Brown versus Board of Education and made it equal for black babies and white babies and red babies and yellow babies to sit together and to have the same level of education, equal access to education. Now, we know there's still a disparity of education because we see the difference between Bankhead and Buckhead and the books they get in Bankhead and the quality of education that they receive in Buckhead. But what I love about it is just like the church was able to fight in 1954, the church can't just sit down and say now we're equal, because we are not equal. The church just can't go away and say now all things are fair and there's an equal playing field, because the playing field is not. And as they continue to racially profile our young men, as they continue to make a disparity between education, between jobs, between economics, then the church must continue to fight. The church has such an influence on government that we see the 13th, the 14th, and the 15th Amendment, such as they call the Civil Rights Amendments, which give us and allow us the opportunity to vote and to engage in public policy. So we're standing here today, and I, as a clergy member, I, as a graduate of the Interdenominational Theological Center, as a colleague of yours, and also as an advocate and a lobbyist in the House of Representatives, I'm standing here to plead with you to continue to impact public policy. Now, I have a way that you can assist us in engaging, but I'm begging with you, because if we don't engage, then we will not see many of the atrocities that are happening to our people. We won't see them change. Government or power is not given. Power is overthrown. That's right. Nobody, because you're just sitting and praying, is going to grant you access to power. If they are in power, you have to engage. You have to use your economics. You have to use your voices. You can't just do it from the four walls of the church, but we have to be actively engaged. So how do I propose we do so? I want to offer you two opportunities to engage in public policy. And the first one is making certain that we are voting. The church, I'm going to say this again, the church right now as it stands is a $1 billion industry, and every year, every Sunday, people are spending $1 billion. So you can't tell me that the church don't have power. And I'm not just talking about the power of the Holy Ghost, because we know we got that. But after we speak in tongues, and after we burn up the purple carpet, and after we eat the dinner, what are we going to do about our children losing their lives every day? How do we engage it? So one of the things is to vote, because right now the church can shift any election. Right now the church has the influence, the power, and the authority to shift any election they want to. So we see Trump in there, and I don't know about the Russians. I don't know if the Russians had involvement in that. But I do believe, because I know people who just were very casual and apathetic about going to the polls. You know them, and I know them too. But if the church was to engage, we have the power to shift any election. So what am I proposing? I'm proposing on June 20th, there is an election. I'm not proposing you vote for a particular person. You know that some of your nonprofit 501c3s doesn't give you the liberty to engage people to tell them who to vote for. But I do know that when we get to the polls, we tend to vote for people who have our best interests at heart, or that's what we hope to. So I'm asking all of the pastors here, we're doing a Souls to the Polls for this next election. If you are interested in getting buses of your congregation to go to the church, the election is going to take place on a Tuesday. If they would just come to your church, we would help you with providing buses and transportation to get your entire church to the poll. I'm asking you for the Legislative Clergy Council. We're having meetings at the House of Representatives, and one of the things that we're asking is that each pastor would lend us 10 people from your congregation. I don't want the people to pay tithes to us. No. That's not what we're asking. We're not asking them to join my church. No. We're just asking them to come and to work with us in public policy so they can transfer that information back to you so you'll know what's going on. Why is that important? Because there are laws that are going on right after our watch. When the same-sex marriage law happened, that happened on our watch.
Right.
I'm saying that because the House of Representatives recently was talking about building a casino in our communities, while many of us don't even know that's what they're voting on because it's happening on our watch. So instead of having things happen and us being reactive, I'm proposing an opportunity for us to be proactively engaged in government, and I'm going to give you the information on the things that they're trying to vote on that impact you, that impact the community, and that impact the church every single day. Is that all right? Would you like to know what's going on in that Gold Dome?
Yes.
Absolutely.
So if you would allow me to, my assistant is here. If you would just please sign this list. And Dr. PA, I did ask for permission to send out the list for those that want to engage in a souls to the polls. Is that okay? And then before I take my seat, this is the last thing. There is $8.3 billion being spent annually for women who are getting hospital visits because of domestic violence. Every 9 seconds, a woman is being beat and abused. And 3 out of every 5 women, that means the women that are in this room, somebody has experienced domestic violence. My sister was murdered by her husband. My sister was stabbed 12 times while she was pregnant in front of her children. This is an issue that is not oftentimes discussed inside the church, but this is an issue that impacts all of us. Marcy's Law is an opportunity for us to engage, have the victims have equal access and equal rights to the law. If you want to engage in public policy, if you want to do more than just shout, I'm asking you to sign up and join with us. God bless you.